Gordon takes a look again. Rusty comes down, slams the door. Gordon on ahead. Here comes Jeff Gordon to take the lead.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again.
Did you hear that wheel spin, Benny?
Yeah, I did hear that wheel spin.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Gordon underneath to the lead. 2 laps to go.
He says, I'm here, and I'm coming. Open the door, let me in. Oh, there's going to be contact. Yay. Sends a 42 up the track.
Bristol is back, baby. I was thinking to myself earlier, it's actually been over 10 years since we've had Old Bristol, so a lot of you guys that actually watch my videos have probably never seen an Old Bristol race or don't even remember it, and if you do remember it, you're probably really young. The race we just saw today was Old Bristol. That's it. That's it right there. So let's get right into it before I give too much love. Let's go through the race review and break down what happened. There's so many things that happened this race that there's no way I will be able to cover everything that happened to every driver. So I'm sorry if I don't cover your driver or what happened there. We start off on lap 3 where Michael McDowell gets loose underneath Daniel Suarez. This collects Chase Elliott. This collects Martin Truex Jr. And on lap 3 of what would be a 2-day race, that's really unfortunate for both Truex and Elliott. Racing deal, trying to run the bottom. McDowell gets loose. McDowell not usually up towards the front all the time, so you could understand maybe being a little bit out of place. And yeah, that ended Chase Elliott's day. That ended Martin Truex Jr.'s day in terms of winning a race. Unfortunately, those two would have to come back on Monday, which is today. So you basically just come back to work and you're just going to be running around multiple laps down. So that just sucks. And throughout the beginning part of the race on Sunday, where it was raining here and there, we had, I think, 4 rain delays. So I'm not going to touch on all of them and when they happened. But there was 4 rain delays on Sunday, and what was happening was little PJ1 or whatever it's called, traction grip that is on the bottom of the track, that was very effective after about 1 to 2 laps, because once the heat builds into it, it becomes Old Bristol. There's less banking than what there was back in 2007, 2006, and everything before then. There's less overall banking, but the top is basically negated. It doesn't work as it should when they constructed it in 2008, where it had progressive banking. The top has more banking than the bottom. This traction grip basically allows all the cars to run down the bottom, and it brings back, even though there's a little bit less banking, you don't really notice the difference because it's a conveyor belt on the bottom where bump and runs occur, and it was the racing that I've missed. I've missed this racing for so many years. At this track specifically, I used to be so excited for Bristol every single time they would race there. And then over the last couple of years, I don't get excited anymore. And this race just brought it back. Ryan Blaney had a very, very strong car at the beginning of stage 1, but unfortunately, when trying to get through lap traffic, Trevor Bayne doesn't seem to be clear, and it causes a big pile up where Ryan Blaney has nowhere to go. He is wrecked, and unfortunately, that is his day done. He actually doesn't have to come back on Monday, so it's actually somewhat beneficial to him. But really unfortunate for Ryan Blaney, as he had a strong car. Would it have been as strong, today as it was on Sunday? Maybe not. Everyone was coming and going, so you don't know. Brad Keselowski would win stage 1 since Blaney basically wrecked, and then there was about a 2-lap shootout, so Keselowski wins stage 1. We get through some of stage 2, the rain comes back, so we have to wait, and race gets postponed to Monday, so we catch up to Monday. Race gets resumed. The track is very fast. They're running in the 14-second bracket. It's back to the bottom because overnight, racetrack was able to put another layer of that traction grip, which is fantastic, and we were able to basically run the bottom again. The racing at the end of stage 2 was just spectacular. This is Old Bristol. You see Keselowski, you see Larson, you see Kyle Busch beating, banging. Keselowski just gives the bumper to Larson, moves him out of the way. That's the conveyor belt that is Bristol. It's what I love. And Keselowski would go on to win stage 2. And while Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson, these guys are usually up. Yeah, I said Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, these guys are usually up front. And going through lap traffic, Kyle Larson actually gets a little bit of contact with Ryan Newman. He goes spinning. Kyle Busch has to do some very quick reactions to avoid him. And to be honest, this was Larson's fault. Newman, he races everyone hard, but he's just running on the bottom lane, minding his own business, and Larson cuts right down onto his nose. That is Kyle Larson's fault. Luckily, he gets no damage from it, and he's able to continue on. And while all this is going on, there are drivers coming and going. It was one of the craziest races in terms of someone could get up towards the front, and then fall way back, and then get back up towards the front, and then fall way back. For example, Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace has a incredible drive. He's able to get up to the lead, the 43 car back into the lead, and then 2 laps later, Kyle Busch puts the bumper to him and gets him out of the groove. And then after that, Bubba Wallace actually just really struggled, and we didn't really know what happened, but he would actually eventually go a lap down. Now we're moving towards the end of the race. We get a pretty long run. Unfortunately, the long run means the bottom traction grip is not as good as it used to be, so then everyone has to kind of move around, and it becomes kind of the new Bristol, which isn't terrible. It's still good racing. It's just not old Bristol. It's the Bristol, you know, that everyone loves. The traction compound with such a long green flag run seemed to be eating up the left front tires, as the cars would be running on the bottom for the first 30 to 40 laps of a run. As you go past that point, the left front tire was being corded. So you see Brad Keselowski have an issue with this. Kyle Busch was having an issue with this. Jimmy Johnson, basically everyone in the field was having an issue with their left front tire feeling like it's going down. And eventually, with around 30 laps to go, Brad Keselowski's tire would go down, and this was a huge break for Kyle Busch. Because Kyle Busch, on the same lap, radios in that he has a problem. He thinks it's the right front, but that's because he's had multiple right front issues, so as a driver, you could feel that it could be the right front, but it most likely was the left front that was being corded. Jimmy Johnson, when he came down pit road and got the tires replaced, Chad Knaus told him that the left front tire was corded. So really, really lucky for Jimmy Johnson and especially Kyle Busch, because Kyle Busch would have to come down pit road very soon since he was on the brink of a tire going down. So we restart the race with about 25 laps to go. Larson gets out into the lead. Jimmy Johnson's up there. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I've not mentioned Stenhouse, but Stenhouse was up there. Stenhouse had a ridiculous race from back on Sunday to Monday. He was running 30th. He got wrecked. He gets back up towards the front. He's leading. He's then back to the pack. He's a lap down. He's back on the lead lap. Lucky dog. Free pass. Top 10. And then at the end of the race, he's somehow running in second or third, or no, he restarted fourth, gets up to second, gets behind Kyle Larson, trying to, push him, but wasn't really able to get the pass made. Kyle Busch gets around Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and then we have a mano-a-mano battle between Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch, and just like the old days, Kyle Busch is able to get to Larson's bumper. Larson gets a little bit loose. Busch just gives him the bumper, shoves him up the track, the classic bump and run with 5 laps to go. And Kyle Busch should be able to hold off Larson for the next couple laps. And he wins at Bristol, the true modern-day king of Bristol. We know Darrell Waltrip has the most wins and stuff, but Kyle Busch is incredible at this track, and he goes ahead and wins the race. Let's look at your race results. Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Alex Bowman is in your top 5. Now you see, the first 2 spots aren't that surprising, but 3, 4, and 5, that's the talking point right there. Jimmy Johnson was fast all race. He was very good all race long. Is it a fluke because it's Bristol? We don't know. Like, for example, Ricky Stenhouse was up there. Alex Bowman was up there. Have they been good all season? No. Has Jimmy been good all season? No. But these runs for these guys are huge in terms of confidence boosters. And then we go to Richmond next week, which is another short track. Let's see if they can maybe all 3 of these guys get another good solid finish. And once you go back to that 1.5 mile, 2 mile racetracks, maybe, just maybe, those confidence boosters can go throughout the team and maybe run a little bit better at these bigger racetracks where the Chevys have really been struggling. For Jimmy, it's a fantastic run because he showed speed most of the race. For Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he was up and down everywhere and he was able to fight his way back. And for Alex Bowman, he had a fairly quiet race, but he was in the top 10 the entire time. He had a very, very solid race for him, and that's a huge result for that 88 team. Eric Almirola in 6th. He's been a little bit more consistent, so that's a good run for him. Kevin Harvick with actually maybe a little bit disappointing run today. Wasn't the fastest car. Wasn't really able to run up in the top 5 at all much of the race. Clint Boyer running around in 8th. Joey Logano was always middle to the top 10 area in 9th. And Ryan Newman was up to 3rd at one point late in the race, and then he shuffles back into 10th. Daniel Suarez with an 11th place finish. He had a fractured thumb, so going through Bristol with a fractured thumb, that's a good result for Suarez. Plus, Suarez has had a very, very poor start to the season, so this is a good run, maybe to get him back on track. David Reagan in the 38, good run in 12th. Paul Menard in 13th, Denny Hamlin in 14th, Austin Dillon in 15th. You can see Paul Menard, Denny Hamlin, and Austin Dillon went a lap down. Just the point of the speed of the track. I mean, they were running 14-second lap times, and when you restart a race, I mean, the leader is basically already about half a lap behind you. So if the leader's that fast, it's not surprising that there was that little cars on the lead lap. Bubba Wallace in 16th, like I said earlier, he was leading the race. He was running up in the top 10 for a lot of the race. He was doing a great job, and then something happened. He didn't seem to know what happened, and the team didn't seem to know what happened. The car maybe had a bad set of tires or something just went wrong there, and he fell back. and he went a lap down. And unfortunately, he doesn't get the finish that showed the quality of his racing, but getting that 43 car up to the lead, leading a couple laps, running in the top 5, running in the top 10 for most of the race, it is a fantastic drive for him. Unfortunately, yeah, like I said, doesn't get the result, but very good run for him, and hopefully Richard Petty Motorsports can build on that. Adri Allmendinger in 17th, William Byron in 18th, Jamie Mack in 19th, 20th is Landon Castle. And then you could look down the rest of the field. This is where a lot of guys had issues, multiple laps down, like Kurt Busch, like Brad Keselowski, Trevor Bayne. Kurt Busch actually had a tire go down. He was never able to get back on the lead lap after that. Trevor Bayne, he caused a couple of wrecks throughout the race, and he's been really poor. I mean, that 6 car, I think there needs to be a different driver in the 6. Don't know exactly what happened to Eric Jones. I think he had a couple of issues as well with tires. Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. obviously in that wreck, and they just had to run around for the better part of 2 days, Sunday and Monday. It's brutal to have to do that. And then the back markers, 31 through 39. I actually had 39 cars enter the field, which is a nice little touch there. The more cars we get in the field, probably the better. You see Greg Galding, Sorensen, Chad Fincham. That was his first race, I think. I haven't heard that name before. Casey Kane, Ryan Blaney, unfortunately, with that wreck, and the rest of the field. So what do I think of today's race? Guys, this is the happiest I've been in a long time. This is the best race I have seen in many years. Many years. I'm trying to think of the best race that I can remember. I remember the battle between Ambrose and Keselowski at Watkins Glen. I think it was 2011, I wanted to say. That Watkins Glen race, just the entire race was fantastic. Other than that, I remember Jimmy Johnson versus Jeff Gordon at Atlanta, and a couple other. I remember Martinsville. A couple of the Martinsville races were great, but nothing really stands out that I could think of that is the best race in the last couple of years. I'm talking like anywhere from last year to 2010. This race was just incredible. It was fantastic. Yes, there were a good amount of cautions because that is how old Bristol is. Conveyor belt Bristol usually brings anywhere from 15 to 20 cautions, but it wasn't really a wreck fest. It was just a lot of bump and runs. It was a lot of beating and banging. It was a lot of the short track racing that we wanted. And I think the drivers were getting used to it on Sunday, and that's where you saw a couple of the big wrecks. It was a little bit different. It was a little bit slick. But once they got the hang of it on Monday, it seems like the battles up front were just fantastic. I mean, we had a couple more long runs, just so many bump and runs, so many just great moments, just being able to drive up underneath someone, get alongside them. You don't have to move them up the track. You already got position. You can make the pass. If they're staying on the bottom, you could put the bumper to them. Don't wreck them, just move them out of the way and make the pass. That is short track racing. That's the definition of great short track racing all around the country. That's what we love. As NASCAR fans, it's what we want. And this is why I complain. This is why I get angry at NASCAR, because that race right there is the potential that NASCAR has. That race right there will put butts back in the seats of the sport. That race right there will bring ratings back up. If we could get more short tracks and we could fix these cars on the bigger tracks to the point where they could just run closer and make passes like that, obviously you're not going to bump and run someone at Michigan, but just be able to get up close and be able to make a pass, add more short tracks, build more short tracks in the future. That is the future of NASCAR. And like I said, it's why I complain. It's why I complain when the race isn't good enough. It's why I complain with these cars. It's why I complain that there's not enough short tracks. It's that race right there is every reason why we should have more. Hopefully down the line, because it seems like that traction grip is not the best for long runs, so you would have to have multiple cautions to keep that grip going. Hopefully down the line, it's been about 10 years since they renovated the track. If we could go a couple more years, maybe they could get a little bit more money, Bruton Smith and SMI. Hopefully they can just put the track back to where it was. Just have a do-over. Uplift the track. Just make the banking back to normal, put it back to what it was, because I'm pretty confident most race fans will say the old Bristol is where it's at. For those of you that didn't remember old Bristol or didn't see the live races, that was old Bristol back in 2007. What you saw today, and if you didn't see it, if you were at school, if you were at work, whatever it was, watch the race replay. That'll be on YouTube, I think a week or two from now. Just watch the entire race. It's worth it. That is Bristol. That's Bristol Motor Speedway. That's the Great Coliseum. That is everything I think me and most fans want in a race. I probably missed out a lot in this review, even though it's been a long one. I've probably missed out a good amount, but like I said, it was 10 out of 10 race. 10 out of 10. It was incredible. That's the best race of the season. That's the best race for me in many years. I cannot even think about a race that can live up to that kind of that potential there. You had a great finish with Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. You had great racing all over the place. You had your wrecks that were in there. You had tempers flaring a little bit. It was great. I hope in August that the fans that saw this race, honestly, just buy your ticket now. Buy your ticket for the August Bristol night race. I know a lot of people don't go to the day race because the night race is just better and you just want to go to one race. The night race, pack out that stadium. Try to get it packed. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. If they could just make sure that traction grip can last as long as it possibly can to get the conveyor belt going, and Bristol night race in August, it's gonna be it's my race that I'm gonna be looking forward to the most for the next couple of months, because that was fantastic. It was just amazing. I love it. You could just tell how happy I am, and I think how happy a lot of the fans are that we got that kind of product. Credit to everyone at Bristol. And guys, if you like the video, make sure to like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Comment down below. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you're not already. I like to tweet a lot during the races and interact with you guys as much as I can. And yeah, it was just so much fun. I'll see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Bristol is back. That was awesome. Peace out.
Even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and I can't change. Even if I tried, my love, she keeps me warm.